Daily number 466, Waka Waka Waka, where we're checking out QuanticIllusion, who you can follow on Twitter at twitter.com/QuanticIllusion. Wasn't that easy? His stream is awesome. You should definitely check it out. And we're going to continue to check out his play. And of course, the reasoning for all this is that the upcoming... I can't see anything with these glasses. There we go. The upcoming Red Bull Battlegrounds is going to be beginning on Saturday with none other than me, DJ Wheat, Husky Starcraft, and Rob Simpson doing the casting with 16 sick pros. Please watch us this weekend on this channel, and it's in Austin, Texas. And we're specifically looking at Illusion going up against Stephano and Violet in that group. How on earth will he be able to manage? Well, we've been looking at a lot of really slick timings that he's been doing. His unorthodoxy has been the focus at the end of part 2. And now we're going to see, just as we saw in that Liquid Chef game, some really, really cool, fancy, slick aggression coming out of him to seize control of the game and to bring hurt down to all Zergs around him. So you'll still note that Illusion is kind of favoring a delayed factory. We're going to see a little bit more standard play coming out of Illusion this game. You know, it's not going to be anything nuts like going for the Blue Flame Hellion. But still favoring spending that gas on these upgrades, making sure he gets all his barracks up first. It's a very forward-moving kind of play. Now you might be asking, why on earth is he moving out with a force right now? What are the conditions where this force can move out? Well, around 12 to 13 minutes is when a layer tech can really kick into gear, when Mutalisks and Infestors can pop out. As we can see, the Pathogen Glands are coming up for Dignitas's killer. So this is a safe move out, because we're probably going to be up against Lings, Banes, and Roaches, so we can just lift up and run. But we're probably going to have to stay a little bit back around the 13-minute mark. Probably have to be pulling all this stuff back. Back home, everything's pretty expected, expanding, moving out. But notice how this expansion is safe because of this little move out. This is not a big attack force, but this is hitting at a key time. We have not talked anything about the composition that Killer could go for. You know, a lot of people are talking all about the Ling and Fester into Ultra Broodlord style, you know, the Stephano style that has now become the modern way to play. But none of this has even happened yet at 12 minutes and 3 bases. It has just been this aggression. And this is what I like so much. If this happens, no big deal. Lift up, cool. 90% of players retreat right now. Not Illusion. He's going to go for a drop. This is an aggressive play that works on maps where the place that you're attacking from the front and the main are really far apart. You can also do this on Antigua, where you go for the third base and then pull back to the main. But cool. If he doesn't have any layer units right now over here, then he certainly isn't going to have any layer units in the main, so maybe I can do a little bit more damage. And if not, I can always retreat. Super stupidly hyper-aggressive, really small force, just hitting at a really nice time. Back home, there ain't nothing special going on. Churning out of all the barracks, churning out of the factory, getting siege mode, getting 2-2, also getting this +1 upgrade.
Get me out of this mess.
And the instant things got really tricky. His medevacs just got him out of that mess. And thank goodness, still adding on more barracks, continuing to macro, and doing these really aggressive supply depot wall-offings. I think it's really easy to kind of neglect this. To be like, nah, I'm safe, yeah, whatever. But just supply depot walling off is like the super big mega giga key. So Illusion, because he still is seeing some roaches, and he saw this infestation pit, adding on a good bit of marauders. Yeah, nice and easy. If for some reason we are up against a hardcore Mutalane Baneling player, we can always lift this barracks, land it for a reactor, and add on a second factory there. But in the meantime, notice how the favoring is of barracks. We got 5 barracks, then we add on 1 factory. And then we get 2 more barracks, and then we add on another factory. Just now has Illusion's little aggressive stuff at the start of the game finally been abated. And this is the moment in time where Terran will be generally doing a big push every 2 minutes. 16 minutes is about when the first push happens. 15, pretty common for a very aggressive Terran player who's been feeling good and getting his macro going good. But generally with the macro that a Terran player has, it's about every 2 minutes to rebuild and do another big push. I like this choice to take this command center, and this is becoming another big decision that a lot of players are starting to make every single time, is taking the expansion that makes it easier to attack. On this map, let's look at the obvious 4th base. This is the, I would call, obvious 4th base, because hell, if we just follow the map, like follow the screen, we take a 2nd, and then we go up here, we take a 3rd, and whoa, we go over here and take a 4th, and you know, we're probably going to take a 5th, I don't know, maybe up here, you know, we just kind of have this whole line. However, when you're playing Terran and you're thinking about attacking, where are we probably going to be attacking? We're probably going to be moving either here, and then attacking over this way, or we're going to be taking our forces and we're going to be going down and attacking this way. In other words, if you just look at the mini-map where I'm circling, this is generally going to be the area where we're doing the big aggression. And as a result, this is the safest expansion for us to take. It also helps to have this huge watchtower here. You'll still see that the rally point is defensively positioned here. If there's a counter at this 3rd base, actually this should have at least 2 Marines in it. If there's a counter at this 3rd base, we have our rally point defensively placed. And it's only when we start to get a good established control up here of this front that we really start to move out. Nothing wrong also with putting a sensor tower where you're worried about a counterattack.
Upgrade.
So now Illusion
Is under attack.
Ooh. Illusion is literally waiting for 2-2 before he makes any sort of big attack move. He does lose this expansion, but no big deal. He's just churning these command centers out like they're dime a dozen.
Mineral field depleted.
And continued aggression right along the front. We basically saw a 1-step, 2-step aggression. Then we just did some stupidly aggressive expand nabbing. And I'd still like to note that we haven't really seen Illusion get that many tanks this game. Even though he did get the 2nd factory, it's not really being used nearly as much as all these barracks. A good amount of these Marauders have been made, and Marauders can tank a ton of damage from Zerglings. It's really hard for Zerglings to kill off Marauders. Generally, people credit the Marauder for being the Baneling tank, absorbing that damage because Banelings are so clearly good against Marines, but this helps so much for Illusion to absorb a lot of these blows. And he has some tanks, so he's going to be able to take to deal with that nicely. But I think that this is a pretty key moment right here where we see what Illusion does with his army. The one thing that Ling Infestor struggles with is when a Terran player splits his army up. The fact about fungal growth is that it just doesn't do damage that fast. It kind of slowly oozes the damage down. So you kind of want to infest and then back up and then infest and then back up. Also, big clumps of units are better for fungal growth because you hit more. The infested Terrans work better against clustered groups because once you launch an infested Terran, it's slow. It ain't going anywhere. So if there's an attack here and an attack here, you can't throw down one infested Terran to deal with both of them. So you're spending a lot more energy on your infestors trying to split all that stuff up. So to emphasize this whole splittedness, it's not that Illusion is just arbitrarily going here with a drop and going there with a drop. He gets in this engagement, and then look at this. Immediately, once he sees that he's in somewhat of a favorable position, is spreading his units out. Like, immediately. Sure, he has a central push that he's going for, but these little counter swings after big exchanges are amazing. If you're up against Mutiling, doing more direct engagements, keeping your units clumped together, if you can identify that Mutalisks are here and you do a drop over here, that's great. But if you get in a big engagement and it doesn't work out so well, if you do a big engagement with Ling Mutalisk and it doesn't work out so well, the Terran who pushes against you can easily walk over, a lot more easily than if he spreads out. I will note that you didn't see a GG from Killer because I stripped all the text from this game. They were chatting all game long and it was kind of distracting, so Killer is in fact well-mannered and did in fact not rage quit. But one thing to note that's pretty cool, I said this in the last game, and I'll say it again, it's pretty damn hard for a player to get a hive any earlier than around 1630. It's pretty difficult in this matchup if you're doing a lot of timing pushes to get it too much earlier. I guess players have gotten a little better, or excuse me, players have gotten a lot better, so that's a little bit earlier than it was before. It used to be around 1630, but, you know, it looks like Killer is kind of inching it forward to 1530, but it's still difficult for any of the Hive tech to really rear its head for another few minutes, because notice that the Hive is done here, and Ultralisk Cavern takes a minute. Upgrading to a Greater Spire takes 100 seconds. I don't know if there is a Spire here to show that, but it does take 100 seconds. And then you have to morph them into Broodlords. I mean, the Ultralisks themselves take almost a full minute, 55 seconds. So you can see that once this finishes, a minute to build the Cavern, a minute more to build the Ultralisks. So this is another nice vulnerable period for the Terran to attack right around 16 minutes. So 10, 12, and 16 are really big attack timings for a Terran player against a really slick Zerg. I had something else I wanted to say. Aha, yeah, there we go. As we come back into this game, we can see that if I just go right to the very end, you'll see 3 Ultralisks about to pop out, 3-3 half done, chitinous plating half done. Really hard to hang on in a spot like this. In fact, the one thing that you will probably have to do as a Zerg is just stay on the Baneling Infestor slightly longer. You'll see players delay their Hive a little bit. You can do things like get a Hive a lot faster, but you have to not get the 4th base up. It's really hard to get the 4th base up and get a super mega fast Hive. And of course, some players you will see, like Stephano in Zerg vs Protoss, he will get the like the 9-minute and 30-second expand and infestation pit and be going for Hive really fast. But in that matchup, you don't need nearly as many Infestors as you do in this matchup. You need a lot of Ling Infestor in this matchup to deal with the Terran mid games. That's what ends up slowing down the Hive a lot. So we got the chance to get a nice introduction to Quantic Illusion in today's daily. We saw de-emphasizing tanks, which are heralded as the core damage dealer in the Terran army against things like Banelings and Roaches and Infestors from afar. Sure, the Marines are your core mix, but the tanks generally clean up some of the scarier stuff so the Marines can really have their full potential. We saw a de-emphasis of tanks. Weird. We saw a lot of these cool-ass attack timings. Especially really weird early openings. Super fast 2-2. On our Marine Marauder, with a transition to Thor early on. In this game, we saw this really weird +1 stim and combat shield push with a factory making Hellions one at a time. Weird, super effective though. So I actually think that Illusion is going to have a really, some really cool games against Stephano and Violet. I'm especially excited for those games, just because they play very differently. Stephano's very much so the resilient, defend, stay alive, push it to the late game so I can get Hive. Violet is like, I don't need a base, I'm killing your base. Super aggro Zerg, so I'm excited to see those on Saturday. Let's take questions from Markio's question grabber. Oops. Whoops. Ah, there we go. And of course, I'll note that tomorrow and Wednesday, I will also be doing dailies on players who will be at the Red Bull Battlegrounds, so please send me requests of which players you'd like the dailies to be on. Woohoo! Okay, Chronotos says, Day 9, why is it common to press the front of Zerg's extended creep? Why would we not just hit from the side with where there's less creep? For 2 reasons. One, the Zerg generally is expanding towards us, so that's actually the closest thing to us, which means that it largely has to do with our reinforced path from behind. If we went to one side, it would be really hard for reinforcements to get to our army. Terran actually have the hardest time of the three races reinforcing because they don't have warp gates and they don't have really fast Zerg units. So making sure that you always have a good reinforced path means that you want to go wherever's closest. That ends up being the creep. So that's one reason. The second reason is keeping that creep line down is like of utmost priority. You can happily spend scans killing off creep spread because it means Zerg can't be nearly as aggressive as he wants to be. It's a huge help to reduce his creep. So in a sense, it's a very defensive play as Terran to go for that big creep. It helps kill off your ability as Zerg to be offensive, and I can reinforce comfortably as Terran. Gonna take... Day 9, are you going to be playing the new Amnesia game? Yes. Yeah. Excellent. Let's see here. Let's be refreshing. A lot of people asking about general things like StarCraft 2 Pro League, which is awesome. Let us divine. From Corbel22. Marines are the key part of any army, but why don't we see so many battlecruisers against Zerg? Are they not an ideal unit? We actually got the chance to see battlecruisers in MVP versus Squirtle in the GSL finals, and we saw that they are stupidly powerful and unbelievably difficult to deal with unless you nail a perfect vortex or something like that. Against Zerg, the big issue is that the situations where they are useful just don't come up that often. An easy way to describe it is at every point in the game, so let's say we've started to build some Marines. We have some Marines. I don't care when we are in the game, if we're talking 8 minutes or 20 minutes. We have some number of Marines. And we're faced with the following question. Should we switch tech and go into some more battlecruisers? Or should we just keep making Marines? And because we start off and we make Marines, and we get upgrades to make those Marines stronger, and then we kind of want to keep making them to make use of these upgrades. We don't want to build a powerful unit that's completely unupgraded. So I'm actually, how would I say that? I'm actually trying to think of a lot of situations where it would come up. It would only come up in some late game situations where neither the Zerg or the Terran can really make an attempt to break each other, but they're also even in expansions, and I think the even in expansions is like really key. I can't actually think of a lot of scenarios where it would happen. I would probably say, I'm just theory crafting right now because I don't actually have any evidence of this. In the beta, we got to see some of this come up because players were experimenting with battlecruisers then. There's a vulnerable period for Zerg around, I'd probably go with, yeah, probably around 16 minutes, where if he's doing something like what Killer's doing, where he's going for Ling and Fester and then going for Ultralisk, he is investing all his gas in a largely ground-based army to deal with your huge-ass ground-based army. And if you just got 1 or 2 battlecruisers, you can poach forward with the battlecruiser and pick off a lot of key units. I mean, what is he going to do? Fungal, throw down a whole bunch of infested Terrans to pick it off? He's going to bring his queen over? None of them are good answers. The only good answer would be a lot of corruptors. And only in that 15-ish to 18-ish window could he not really have that many corruptors. Well, actually, I'm going to rephrase that. Between 15 and 18, he could make corruptors, but they would have to be built only to kill off that battlecruiser. Once you get past 18 minutes, the Zerg player is happy to build corruptors to keep his broodlords alive. But I think maybe in that window, there's a chance to throw out 1 or 2 battlecruisers. That would be cool. I'd like to see that. At least I have an answer, damn it. I'm going to take one more question. One more question. From Davis King, Day 9. For us newer players, how do you suggest we begin to get a feel for those timings? Will watching pro matches be enough to get a general idea? P.S. You're awesome. Thanks, Dave! Haha! I can't believe I read that out loud. That felt great. How do you get a general feel for that? You have to play a lot, he said, having a hair explosion. Yes, hair explosion, baby. You obviously have to play a ridiculous shit ton. That's what will help a lot. But timings are there because nobody can avoid them. That's the big thing to note. I mean, like, if you take a third base really early in Zerg vs. Terran, it's physically impossible for you to both get the 3 bases and get enough units to keep it alive and go for the layer quickly. You just physically can't do those things, and that's how that timing pops up. So let's say you're playing in Bronze League, where players have very, very not fluid play. He might not have an elegant opening as the Zerg player because he's Bronze, but you know that whether he's Bronze or Grandmaster, at 10 minutes, he physically cannot have layer units. So you can easily just get sucked up into your medevacs and retreat back home as long as you're making an attack at 10 minutes. But the best way to actually start to unearth timings is quite literally to start being aware of patterns when you play. Like, let's say, anytime you see an attack in GSL, just mentally sort of glance at the clock. And you'll start seeing that they will be attacking around the same time. As you're playing in your own game, maybe you've lost 5 times to big baneling attacks. Well, go back and watch all those 5 games and go kind of, huh, they always come at 8 minutes. Look at that. They're always coming at around 8 minutes. That is, that's so useful to know. And then you can start to get a feel for this. And I'll be honest, you can be wrong. And that's okay. For instance, if you're playing in the Gold League and players are trying to baneling bust you all in and they're hitting at like 9:30, you might say, oh, 9:30 is when I need to worry about that baneling timing. Now that you have that in your head, it will help you climb past gold, and then when you hit platinum, players are maybe doing it at 9 minutes, and you're going, whoa, players are doing it a little faster now. I guess I need to be aware earlier. And then you'll climb up to diamond, and then to master, and then when you're in master, you'll start going, wow, these guys are hitting this at like 8 minutes, 7:45. Huh, well, it looked like way back then I can see I was wrong, but it still helped me climb my way up. So the whole idea is recognizing patterns and having little timestamps planted in the ground. So for now, that wraps up the daily. We'll be doing dailies all week on players who will be attending the Red Bull Battleground. So give me any requests that you would like from these players as I sign on out. But before we sign out, let's go ahead and grab a random streamer from Team Liquid, hop onto his channel, and cheer him on. Let's see, who is it going to be? Who on this is playing Diablo 3? Whoopsie daisies. Oh, man. I know who it's going to be. Is it going to be? Yes. Oh, no, he's offline. All right, I need to refresh the stream list. This is such a fun tradition. Let's see here. Let's try... I'm looking. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Honeybear21. I heard he actually wanted to try to be a pro one day. Oh, he's watching a game between Puck and Fitzy here. Yep, guys, go ahead and go check out Honeybear's stream. I'm going to transition over. Here he is. There it is. Dum-ba-dum-da. Oops. Dun-da-da. Right there he is. Honeybear, Honeybear. Where are you, oh Honeybear? Bam. Honeybear. Go support him. Go watch. Cheer him on. I don't know if he's going to be playing more, but we shall certainly encourage him to play. Support Honeybear on his quest for going pro. That's it. See you tomorrow. Please give me requests on Twitter at Day9TV of who you want reviewed tomorrow. See you then.